What would 12-year-old you think of how you are now? He would honestly think I'm like the coolest guy ever and be pumped about the future. But that's just because he had really bad taste. I was an idiot at 12, so he'd think I was cool. Now me is an idiot too, but I only think I'm kinda cool. He would be disappointed because I'm not a professional football player or a rap artist. That little delusional brat. Sure, I become successful, but my hairline is going to recede and start becoming bald, starts violently sobbing. She'd be appalled at who I married. My husband and I went to grade school together, we did not get along at all. Probably disappointed I didn't go to her school of choice or finish college. I'm not a famous artist. I don't work for Marvel Comics. And I don't have any kids. Probably nothing. That would require me taking my mind off of my hot math teacher, Miss Harper. And that rarely happened with 12-year-old me. I'd be very impressed. I was overweight, depressed, basically friendless, and didn't know at the time. But being an adult now, it is very clear, some kind of attention disorder. Had horrible grades because I just didn't care, parents didn't, so why should I? Wasn't into sports at the time either. I'm now in a successful position in a very successful company, with a great social life and an awesome little family. I just bought a house I'd never in my wildest dreams thought I'd be able to afford. I'm still about 20 pounds overweight. But my husband likes my curvy butt and chest, so I call that a win, I suppose. Don't get me wrong. There have been plenty of ups and downs. But overall, I'm doing alright for myself. Which is something I'd never thought would be the case at 12. Probably upset that I'm not a vet and don't own a Scarlet Macaw. It's okay. Little me. I found a much better aspiration and I have a cool ferret instead. The me of today is what the 12-year-old version fantasized about becoming, a performing musician and instructor/professor. Can only speculate. But I think the 12-year-old me would be surprised and pleased that it actually happened after years of study and hard work. Shocked that I was actually diagnosed with a mental illness. Sad because mom has passed. Happy that I have my own PC. Freaked because I hated long hair. Which is what I have now. 12 Wyoming would call 19 Wyoming a pedophile, too bad his dad's going to die in a month. And puberty is going to hit him like a freight train in a week. He would think that getting divorced meant that I had failed as a person. And he would be very wrong. He would think I was a loser because I put down the skateboard and started actually trying to be a part of society. Shit, he would call me a ducking loser. My 12-year-old self would be proud. A little confused/surprised with where I ended up. It's different from what my 12-year-old self saw. But I have a heckin' good life, so I think they'd be proud of all the work I've done and who I've become. He would probably say something along the lines of, God, I hope I'm not like that guy when I grow up. He'd probably think he was super cool. To be honest, 12-year-old me wanted to play in bands and be a pro wrestler, and I played in bands through my teens/early 20s, then debuted as a pro wrestler at 30 years old. Wow. That's really made my day realizing that. Thanks. Op. Honestly, it would be different. I'm out now, I'm a dude now. She would be so scared, LMAO, and now that she's a he woo, I have boy sauce in me. I think 12-year-old me would be proud of the person I've become. But horrified at my major. For an explanation, I am a chemical engineering major. I'm 25 now, I now speak Japanese. My 12-year-old me must be so proud, but I still failed my third Japanese proficiency test, so my 20-year-old me must be disappointed. I have a job and now working in a Japanese company. My 12-year-old self must be so proud, but it sucks and it's been 5 years. My 23-year-old me must be disappointed. I had a girlfriend. My 12-year-old self must be so proud, but we're not together anymore. My 22-year-old self must be disappointed. Depressed that he could ever become this old. Even if it's just 30. That's an impossibly high age to 12-year-old me. She would be seriously confused since I was a girl at 12 and now I'm a man at 26. You think finding out liking girls was hard? Honey, you've got a big storm coming. He'd probably be stoked that he'll look more cool. Most likely be endlessly confused why I'm into fashion and makeup. Then be stoked again because I'm a graphic designer and I was always mystified at how things like that were made. And then he'd be pissed again because I'm on a rough patch RN. Disgusted. It turns out I'm gay. And 12-year-old me was a huge homophobe. Also, 12-year-old me would be severely disappointed that I am an atheist. She would be extremely relieved that I made it through. My childhood was pretty grim. Now I'm a PhD candidate living in NYC. I have cats. I'm doing NaNoWriMo this year. I have healthy relationships with people. I don't even need anxiety meds anymore. Life is ducking incredible. I just casually became everything I ever dreamed of being as a child. She would lose her shit if she learned that last week my sister and I went to the new One Piece movie in theaters and then got udon after LOL. Disappointed that I'm not sticking it to the man. Happy that by not sticking it to the man I'm able to make good money. Leave my parents' house. Have a great gaming PC and I'm good with girls now. The receding hairline would make him very worried though. He would be shocked that I'm still in the same ducking school. I teach at my old middle school. My 12-year-old self would think I'm badass. I get to do super cool science. My boobs finally came in. I can, and do, dye my hair a variety of colors. And guys actually like me now. It's great, and whenever I'm stressed I just remind myself that my teenage self would be thrilled to know how far I've come. TBH. I think 12-year-old me would be happy that I have friends. Like really happy cause I didn't really have any friends until I was 13. He would view me as a young man who went seriously astray. They would be intrigued by my instability. I doubt they'd ever think they could become like me. Mad that I'm not skinnier by now, horrified that I lost my virginity before marriage, sad I'm not married / in a relationship, amazed that I have as many friends as I do, would let out a big sigh of relief about my sexuality and then freak out about my gender LOL. Wait. You're trans? Is that why I'm so sad and angry all the time? Why did it take you so long to start transitioning? What do you mean I'm doing all this volunteer work and advanced classes and we failed out of vet school? At least our wife lets us touch her boobies. He would be stoked that he joined the Marines but disappointed that he spent more time with a keyboard and broom than a rifle. Haha. I don't think he'd be surprised. 12-year-old me. Living with physically and mentally abusive parents. Starved for days on end. Had the door removed to my bedroom because privacy wasn't even allowed. Living in fear every single day. Me today. Living with PTSD from those abusive parents but can't get the meds. Starving for days on end and dumpster diving just to try and get by when I can. Living in fear every single day and having nightmares every night that send me into a spiral. He'd probably just kill himself, and honestly, I probably would suggest it. I have the keys to a gold mine and get to drive a narrow-gauge train through a forest. I have indoor tomato plants which I have kept alive and producing fruit through 2 winters. I get paid to drive a double-decker bus through some of the most scenic places and visit Wales from my home in England almost every day. 12-year-old me would think that was pretty cool. Not to mention I can play SNES games, using a PC emulator, whenever I want. You turned into a woman? Honestly, I think he'd only be slightly disappointed, but he'd be proud I still have my optimism. You own multiple cars and live in a black house with a hot tub courtyard you built and installed yourself. You built all the furniture in your house that you made in your own shop. You're covered in tattoos and draw/design for a living. Fucking killed it, dude. Also, happy birthday, congrats on 30. By 35 you'll live in a house that you designed and own a business you built. 12-year-old me love Legos, drawing, and making tree houses. Life should be your inspiration. Continually. I have a room full of Legos now. 2. 12-year-old me would be completely disgusted by the fact that I'm transgender and atheist. She'd be pretty upset I turned out to be bi. She had an obsessive fear of turning out to be a lesbian. She secretly knew, I think. Deep down, she'd also be so mad I didn't turn out to be a secret agent. I'd be ducking disgusted and terrified. 12-year-old me had some really high goals. I'm legit sad now thinking about this. Well, I was trans and closeted but didn't have a term to put to my feelings, and I didn't get any relevant therapy or medical care until I was 22. 12-year-old me would probably not even believe that I was even able to say it out loud, much less be able to actually live this truth of mine. But if I could get him to believe it, 12-year-old me would be so proud that one day he could be that brave and honest.